Backslide by Black K. Cat. Chapter 14. Bonding. It's a sign of just how terrible the day is going to be when Kakashi arrives at the apartment long before the sun is even a concept to drag them out of their beds. Up, up, up! He crows cheerfully, snatching blankets away from their desperate hands and tossing them gleefully to the side. Naruto, attempting to keep a hold of his pillow at the very least, is pulled out of bed right along with as he goes over the side, landing in a heap on the floor and groans. Up! Kakashi repeats with all the manic cheer of a dog when a rabbit is finally cornered. We're taking a field trip today! Come on, get moving! Sasuke, bleary-eyed and ruffled, looks at Naruto sprawled painfully on the floor and wonders if it's too late to write the whole day off as a loss and just go back to bed. And Kakashi finally shimmies them, reluctantly dressed, packed, and armed, into the kitchen. It's to the sight of Sakura already there and waiting, looking just as unhappy about the early hours the rest of them. Even Kurama, who is less a morning person and more take every possible second to enjoy the glory of existence person, appears distinctly irritated with the Captain. Kakashi, he growls warningly, clinging to the large mug of coffee in front of him, and the sound is several measures deeper than anything that should conceivably come from a human throat. Sasuke doesn't have time to consider it, though, as two ration bars are tossed directly into his face. He catches them with a growl of his own, directing a blistering glare at his idiot sensei. Now, Kurama-kun, the Jonin says almost gleefully. Shinobi have to be prepared to move at a moment's notice, no matter what time it is. As Kurama growls something back, Sasuke decides he's probably best leaving them to it and slinks over to stand shoulder to shoulder with his teammates in an attempt at solidarity. Sakura gives him a quick smile, but the usual fawning is entirely absent, and Sasuke is ridiculously thankful for it. He nods in return because it finally feels safe to do so, and is relieved when this gets no more reaction out of her than Naruto's mumbled, "Good morning, Sakura-chan. Do you know anything?" Sasuke asks in a low voice, eyeing their sensei warily. He and Kurama seem to be having some sort of debate, and it appears that Kurama is losing. If the resignation in his expression is anything to go by, that's likely not a good sign. The Kunoichi narrows her eyes at Kakashi, looking sleep-deprived and mulish. "No," she huffs. "He stopped at my house, dragged me out of bed, and gave me 5 minutes to change and pack as if for a 3-day mission. Exactly the same as his instructions to them, then. I vote we dye his hair pink next chance we get," Naruto mutters, studying Kakashi's silver hair balefully. "It should hold dye really well, especially the permanent kind." For once, Sasuke finds himself entirely in agreement, and even Sakura looks tempted. "Hot pink," Sasuke confirms lowly. Sakura looks back and forth between them for a moment, clearly torn, and then casts a look at the clock on the wall. Sasuke hasn't been able to bring himself to check it yet. Some things are better left a mystery. At the sight of it, her expression firms, and she adds viciously, "with sparkles." They shake on it solemnly. "Ah! Fine!" Kurama throws his hands up, stepping back in defeat. "You're a jerk!" he tells the other Jonin darkly, then spins on his heel and stalks into the hall. "Give me 3 minutes!" Kakashi looks entirely too smug as he rubs his hands together and rounds on the 3 genin. Good! A nice long hike is the perfect way to start a morning, don't you think?" he asks cheerfully. "Hike?" Sasuke echoes wearily. "Long?" Naruto repeats, suddenly pale. "Nice!" Sakura demands, her voice dangerously close to a shriek, but Kakashi is ignoring him. Like an overgrown, gangly dragonfly, he flits to the hallway and calls, "Kurama-kun, surely can't take a well-aimed shuriken," cuts him off before he can finish, embedding itself in the wall, half a centimeter from the tip of Kakashi's gravity-defying hair. 3 minutes, the redhead repeats threateningly from out of sight. "I still have 1 minute and 37 seconds left, Kurama-san." Never has an honorific sounded so much like the promise of bodily harm, and Sasuke's fairly certain that this is love. Kakashi eyes the deeply buried shuriken and then Kurama's bedroom door, which is only open a crack, and offers impressive. Emerging with a battered pack on his shoulder, still tying a kunai pouch around his leg, Kurama gives the man a flat look. Oops, he says breezily as he passes. Guess I missed. Naruto, how would you feel having me as a stepfather? Sasuke mutters, starry-eyed to his friend? Yes, his friend. Naruto assesses him for a second, then looks back at his cousin, and then over at their instructor. Can I kill Kakashi-sensei for you as a wedding present? I'll help. Sakura volunteers cheerfully. Can I be your maid of honor? Okay, time to go. Kakashi rounds on his snickering genin, eye curved up into a beaming smile. Come on, march off to the gate. We're wasting daylight standing around. What daylight? Kurama demands sourly, bringing up their ears. They troop out of the apartment. He's got his sword in his hand and looks to be contemplating the use of it on one silver-haired menace. Sasuke drops back slightly to walk next to him. I'll help you hide the body, he offers, not entirely facetiously either. Kurama snorts, but flips his katana around and sheaths it, then slings the sheath across his back. I appreciate the suggestion, he says, but in this case, I think someone might notice him being gone. Really? Naruto asks skeptically from Sasuke's other side. All he does is laze around in trees and read his stupid porn. He's friends with Iruka-sensei. You really want to make your academy teacher sad? We'll console him and help him through his grief. Sakura chimes in. She looks entirely too sweet to be proposing bloody murder. And it's not like he has to know it was us. Besides, isn't this good training for assassination missions? Kurama eyes the three of them with amusement. Bloodthirsty little monsters, aren't you? He asks almost admiringly. He glances towards their sensei, clearly thoughtful, and then nods decisively. Alright, I've got an idea. If you can manage to take Kakashi down and out before we get back to the village, I'll treat you guys to every meal for a week. And assuming you learn the chakra control techniques Kakashi said he's going to start you on, I'll teach you each a ninjutsu of my own creation. Incapacitate or kill? Sakura asks, because she's their detail woman. Incapacitate, Kurama says firmly. If he dies on a training trip, I will have to fill out so much paperwork. Spare me that at least, please. Can we use anything? Or just the academy jutsus? Naruto wants to know. The redhead considers it for a moment. I assume you're asking because of your seals? Yeah, that should be fine. So, anything you have or can make. Deal? Deal, Sasuke says promptly. Should I draw up a contract? The Jonin laughs. No, let's just call this a gentleman's agreement. Now get plotting, I'll go distract your sensei. He takes 2 blurring bounds forward, dropping to a walk again besides Kakashi, and immediately strikes up a conversation. The 3 genins stare at him for a moment in awe. Your cousin is awesome, Sakura says after a beat. The most awesome in the world! Naruto agrees with a grin. Did you know he's in the bingo book? And he took down 5 S-rank missing-nin when he was a bounty hunter. Why couldn't he have been our sensei? Sasuke mutters, truly grieved. Somehow, without conscious thought, he spent the last 2 weeks and change camped out in Kurama and Naruto's apartment, first on the couch, and then sharing a bed with Naruto when the sofa's lumps threatened to twist his spine permanently out of alignment. And while they're hardly the normal family that Sasuke lost 5 years ago, they're good. They make him feel good because Kurama is kind and generous and affectionate to both him and Naruto and takes the time to train the both and cooks for them whenever he doesn't have duties. He's different than Sasuke's lost family, but he has something of the brother that Itachi used to be in him, only easier. There's no expectation of rivalry between them the way there was whenever Sasuke's father looked at him and Itachi. No genius firstborn and disappointing second son. There's just Kurama and Naruto and Sasuke, all living in an apartment meant for 2 and creating something that feels suspiciously like home. Sasuke remembers his brother's taunts about strength and Kurama's words about looking underneath the underneath. And as he looks around him at the medic nin to be former fangirl and the sealing master to be former dead last, he thinks, just a little, and maybe a touch surreptitiously, But he considers his life right now and compares it to the emptiness of a month ago. I'm stronger now, he thinks, remembering their last team training session, where Naruto covered the area with smoke, and Sakura called out enemy positions from above, and Sasuke trusted them both to steer him through his shuriken and kunai on their direction, and hit the target every time. I'm stronger here, but what does that mean for his revenge? What does that mean when he's no longer entirely sure that he even should get his revenge? Sasuke is sufficiently self-aware to realize that he's always focused on vengeance rather than grieving. That part of his drive to kill his older brother was a desperation to make his pain go away. Or do you really think that the same brother who gave you piggyback rides when you were too tired to walk suddenly snapped and killed everyone for no reason? What if Sasuke's been missing something all these years? Well, he, more than anyone, is aware of the Sharingan's capabilities. Nothing he saw that night can be entirely trusted, though he never thought of it that way before Kurama's words to him. Maybe there's a reason beyond Itachi testing his strength. Sasuke desperately wants there to be one. You're up early, Kakashi-san. The gate guard's words pull him out of his thoughts, and Sasuke looks up. A sickly-looking Tokubetsu jonin with a sword across his back is waiting, expression faintly skeptical as he takes in their ragtag group. Training trip, Kakashi says cheerily, handing over a sheaf of papers. Got stuck on guard duty again, Hayate? The Dokuja coughs into his sleeve, the sound wet and rattling, and nods. The doctor doesn't want me doing anything strenuous until this new treatment takes effect, he says miserably, then hands the papers back and waves them through. Good luck, Kakashi-san, Team 7. But Kurama pauses next to Hayate, letting the other jonin pass. You know Hayate-san, he says carefully, low enough that Sasuke only just catches it on his way past. Tsunade-sama was seen a few days ago in Yugakure. Whatever problem she has with Konoha doesn't extend to Konoha-nin, and especially not sick Konoha-nin. If you visited her, there's no guarantee she can help, but it's a chance. The sickly man blinks at Kurama for a moment, clearly shocked, and then ducks his head. Yugakure, you said, he murmurs, something painful to witness flickering across his drawn features. Thank you, Jonin-san. Kurama. The redhead corrects with a gentle smile. Uzumaki Kurama. Gekko Hayate, the Tokujo answers, bobbing his head. It's a pleasure to meet you, Kurama-san. Kurama-kun! Falling behind doesn't mean you get to stay behind, Kakashi calls from outside the gate. You don't want to waste this beautiful morning, do you? Kurama's eye roll puts any other Sasuke Hizim to shame. You say that like I can see something beyond darkness, he complains, stalking past the three genin to join their sensei. Why do we have to leave right now? Wouldn't dawn have been better, or even vaguely closer to dawn rather than witching hour? Have I mentioned that I hate you? He gets a beaming eye smile in return, and Kakashi whips out his stupid orange book without hesitation, burying his nose in it. Kurama-kun, you're so spirited in the morning, he says cheerfully. Off we go then! Kurama's growl echoes through the darkness like a living thing. Too deep a note for a human throat to make, and the red-haired jonin twitches one hand towards his sword before clearly tamping down on his murderous impulses. Lead the way, he snarls like it's a threat. Sasuke isn't entirely sure it's not one. Hayate glances after the two, then back at the genin. Good luck, he says again, and this time it's far closer to sympathetic than polite. Sasuke reins in a wince, takes a fortifying breath, and marches forward. Naruto and Sakura fall in like they're heading to war, and none of them are entirely certain they're not. Why did they get stuck with the crazy sensei? Kakashi's first act of the day, once it really is day, is to lead them over a mountain. It's not even a mice mountain either, but one of those ridiculous ones where the trees all grow at right angles, and a single misstep is enough to send them cursing and sliding half an hour back down the trail. Not that it can even be called a trail in any sort of seriousness. It's more akin to Kakashi picking a direction and saying, "Oh, that looks fun. Off we go." Sakura's learning to hate those 3 words with the passion of 1,000 burning suns. She growls as pebbles start sliding under her sandals, knowing from experience that if she doesn't find a solid foothold in the next 10 seconds, she'll end up in an aggravated heap at the feet of the last trees they passed about 500 yards down. But there are no other places to stand that are completely vertical rocks or even more treacherous patches of stone. But just as she's resigning herself to yet more gravel burns and another humiliating double back down the mountain, a strong hand catches her by the back of her dress and, with a nimble bound, her savior deposits her on a small patch of stable ground. Naruto's cousin is a saint, and no one will ever convince Sakura otherwise. Kurama-kun! Kakashi calls back, sounding reproachful. You're a jerk. Kurama answers without missing a beat. It's definitely not the first time he's said it this morning, and Sakura can't find it in herself to disagree. He turns warm blue eyes on the Kunoichi, smiling sympathetically. You alright, Sakura? I'll be a lot better once we're off this mountain, she says honestly, shoving a few strands of sweaty, dusty hair out of her face with a grimace. Kurama, of course, looks just as fresh as he did when they stepped out of the door of his apartment, which should be against some sort of law. She turns a dark scowl on their sensei, who's bouncing up the trail like a mountain goat. A few yards ahead of her, the boys have paused as well, and if looks could kill, well, they wouldn't have to worry about their bet with Kurama, at the very least. There's a soft chuckle, and Kurama reaches out to pick up her disgusting hair. This must be getting in the way, he says. I could braid it if you'd like. Yes, please. Kurama agrees with a grateful sigh. Already, the cool breeze feels amazing against her neck, and Kurama's fingers are deft and practiced as he pulls the strands back from her face and weaves them into a tight plait. Like his own hair is in, she notices, now that she's not fighting her way up the mountain. There we go, Kurama murmurs after a moment, tying the braid off with a strip of leather. If you're going to keep your hair long, it might be best to wear it like this for a while, at least until you're more experienced. Maybe even wrap it into a bun. Enemy shinobi tend to use it against you otherwise. A month ago, Sakura would have raged against the idea of cutting or changing her hair. Now, with a steady breeze cooling the sweat on the back of her neck and all of the dirt-streaked strands pulled out of her face, she agrees, with relief. But the temporary reprieve has started her brain working again, and she notices the way Kurama is standing so easily on the precarious rock face. You're doing something, she realizes slowly, studying the redhead and then glancing up to do the same to the other jonin. You and Kakashi-sensei, there's something you're doing that we're not, and it makes this easy for you. Kurama chuckles, reaching out to rest a hand on her head. Very clever, he said, just like he did that morning at the memorial stone, and his voice is warm. Since you noticed, I suppose it's alright to tell you, try channeling a little chakra into your feet to make you stick to the rocks. Not too much, or you'll get blasted off. Sakura realizes, understanding snapping into place. Oh, that's how shinobi walk up vertical surfaces, or propel themselves across the gap in the roofs. I thought it was just agility or something. She beams at the jonin. Thanks, Kurama-san. He nods in response, offers her a faint wink and a smile, and leaps ahead, passing Sakura's teammates with ease and overtaking Kakashi. The two jonin fall to whispering, but Sakura shuts out her curiosity and focuses on her feet. She's been reading about missing-nin control exercises, and while the application is entirely different than reading the theory, when she centers all of her concentration on moving just a touch of chakra, it comes easily enough. She takes a step, and there's no risk of slipping, no threat of tumbling head over heels down the incline yet again. With a grin, she leaps forward, trying to emulate Kurama, and manages to keep her footing even on the most unlikely of surfaces. Chakra, she says, breathless with success when she lands next to Naruto and Sasuke. Try channeling just a tug of chakra into your feet, and you'll stick to the rocks. It never occurs to her not to share what she's learned, because Naruto and Sasuke are her team. But more than that, they're her friends. She's thought about it before, and she halfway suspects that the reason the Ino Shika Cho trio is so good is that they were all friends long before team assignments. They've got a foundation that Team 7 is only just now crafting. And Sasuke or not, Sakura's rivalry with Ino is still definitely there. She wants to show her former friend just how amazing she and these new friends can be. And if that means shaping them into the next legendary trio, well, Sakura's more than prepared to do her part. Thanks, Sakura-chan! Naruto cries excitedly, closing his eyes. Suddenly, Sakura thinks of the insane number of clones her teammate can create, and her eyes widen. Wait, Naruto, not! There's a sound like an exploding tag going off, and Naruto is blasted 10 feet into the air, the rock turning to sand beneath his feet. That much. Sakura finishes weakly, wincing as she braces for impact. A flash of red streaks past her, leaps into the air, and snatches Naruto by the front of his jacket. Kurama drops back down, landing in an easy crouch, and eyes his cousin with amusement. Naruto, what's the first lesson in learning seals? The blonde flushes and rubs the back of his head sheepishly. Read all of the instructions before I can even think about trying it myself? With an amused shake of his head, Kurama rises to his feet. Why on earth would you think that chakra techniques are any different, brat? Pay attention to your pretty teammate. She's definitely the brains of this operation. Hey! Sasuke butters in a mile at the front. Kurama simply arches a brow at him. Tell me you weren't about to do the exact same thing, Sasuke-kun, he says dryly. Go on. I'm waiting. Sasuke flushes and looks away, and Sakura has to hide a giggle behind her hand. A little chakra, she reiterates once she can talk without snickering, and Kurama has moved ahead again. Like enough to fill an acorn. That's how I pictured it. Naruto and Sasuke exchange glances, but close their eyes agreeably. And she can feel the familiar chakra rising. Naruto's is vast and intense and overpowering like a hurricane, while Sasuke's is sharp and subtle and strong like lightning. But they're controlling it fairly well, not letting it leak everywhere. And the next time they take a step, she knows they've more or less got it. They're not perfect, of course. Naruto still bounces a little higher than necessary, and Sasuke almost slips, but they've done it. They learned something together and mastered it, and that makes something in Sakura's chest feel huge and warm and buoyant. She laughs, bouncing up next to them, and hooks her arm through theirs. We did it! She cheers. Sasuke grunts, but there's a fierce sort of satisfaction in his eyes, and he doesn't shake her off. Naruto grins just as widely as Sakura, sun-bright and excited. Must be Kakashi-sensei and Kurama needed to the top, he cries, pulling them forward, and Sakura laughs and keeps pace, Sasuke on her other side. Her legs are aching, and she's sore and bruised just about everywhere, filthy and sweat and thirsty, but her heart is light, and her feet are steady as they urge each other on. The second day of the torture trip starts like the first in the pre-dawn. Naruto is entirely ready to chuck their all-too-enthusiastic sensei right over a cliff when he rouses them. The moon's still high in the sky and the birds all still sleeping. Which definitely isn't what Team 7 is doing anymore. He mutters indistinctly as the demon sensei whisks the sleeping ball right out from under him and hides it somewhere he can't see. Sasuke and Sakura get the same treatment, and they stagger over towards the low light of the campfire with synchronized groans of complaint. They don't even have Kurama as an ally this morning, as the Jonin looks entirely resigned, sitting on the far side of the fire with a cup of steaming tea. Kakashi says cheerfully, stepping in front of them as they make to sit down. He points behind them towards what is just barely recognizable as a trail, leading deeper into the forest. There's a river about half an hour's steady run that direction. I'll give you an hour and 15 minutes to get there, bathe, and get back. Off you go! They go. How's that plan to kill him coming along? Sasuke asks darkly as they bolt down the rutted, overhung, rock-strewn path. I just found some more motivation, Sakura mutters and then trips over a root with a yelp. Naruto manages to catch her before she falls, and Sasuke falls back a little to help him tug her upright. They all keep going, not wanting to find out what Kakashi's punishment for being late is. The river is, of course, snowmelt directly from the mountain, and instead of taking 15 minutes to bathe, They're in and out in under 5, shaking and nearly blue, but much cleaner. Naruto offers Sakura his jacket, and even though it's definitely seen better days, she takes it gratefully as they huddle around the fireball Sasuke manages to conjure. That eraser, our first meeting. Naruto manages to get out, trying to wring feeling back into his fingers even as he counts down the time they have left. Maybe something like that? A trap? Make it humiliating, is Sasuke's vote. His lips are blue, but the glint in his dark eye promises retribution. I'll plan it out. Sakura volunteers, tugging Naruto's coat just a little more tightly around herself as she shakes. Naruto can set the trap. Sasuke can be a particularly violent shiver interrupts her. Can be the bait. They all agree with the gravity of generals preparing for battle. Naruto checks the level of light around them and makes a face. Time to head back, he says, trying not to let his teeth chatter. Running should warm us up. The run back is slightly easier as they're familiar with the path, and they make it with 3 minutes to spare. Kurama looks up and smiles at them from where he's sharpening his sword and nods at the pot of tea and 3 bowls of rice porridge set out in front of him. Eat up, he urges. Kakashi's-san is out scouting for clearings to practice in. You've got about 20 minutes, I think. Naruto staggers over to sit next to his cousin. Thanks, Kurama-ni, he says gratefully and takes a moment to pass Sasuke and Sakura their bowls. Sakura pours tea for all of them, and even though the run has stopped their shaking, the hot liquid is more than welcome. He downs half of it without caring that he burns his tongue, and then glances at Kurama. The redhead looks thoughtful, but distant, and Naruto wonders if something happened while they were gone. Before he can say anything, though, Sasuke swallows his mouthful and asks, Why did Kakashi drag you along with us? Kurama snorts, turning his attention back to his katana. Because I attempted to be supportive and suggested a training trip to help with teamwork, he says dryly and catches their horrified stares. Oh, don't look at me like that. The trip was my suggestion, not the contents. That's all him. But still, it's for the best. This way, the 3 of you can get the training you need. Chakra control, Kenjutsu, and Taijutsu for Naruto and Sasuke. Stamina and strengthening exercises for Sakura. Then tomorrow we'll head back and do more teamwork-centric stuff on the way. Naruto just barely manages not to cry. He had, perhaps optimistically, thought that they'd simply turn around today and head for home, but apparently Kakashi feels the need to include an extra day of torture training. Sakura, though, looks thoughtful. The other teams aren't doing this, she points out, and it's true. Naruto's seen Kiba a few times since graduation, and teammate has mostly been working on tracking and taijutsu. They haven't taken any 3-day trips out of the village, certainly. No, Kakashi agrees, looking at them with warm blue eyes crinkled in a secret smile. They're not. Sakura smiles back at him like she's sharing in the secret, and then stands. Come on, she says cheerfully. If we're going to be working on taijutsu, we should stretch. I'll take care of your dishes, Kurama agrees easily, the motions of the whetstone never faltering. Good luck, you 3. Naruto hastily swallows the last few bites of his porridge and bolts after her, tugging Sasuke along with him. The other boy looks irritated, but doesn't resist, and with Sasuke, that's the equivalent of an enthusiastic agreement. Sakura leads them over to a small patch of wispy grass and drops down, carefully stretching out her legs. She glances at the 2 of them, copying her motions, and then back at the red-haired Jonin by the fire. I think Kakashi-sensei and Kurama-san are sending us up to be ready for the Chunin exams, she says, her voice soft, but with a thread of excitement in it. Mid-stretch, Naruto pauses, blinking. Really? He asks, feeling anticipation thrum through him. You think so? The very idea of it, becoming Chunin only a few short months after graduation, is incredibly cool, and he can hardly contain his whoop of joy. Sakura nods, switching to stretching out her arms. Training trips are generally preparation for starting C-rank missions, she explains. The textbook says it's a way for Jonin sensei to judge their team in unfamiliar surroundings, without the pressure of a paid mission. A team has to have completed a certain number of C ranks before they're eligible for the exams. And if we're going to start them this early, she trails off, but her eyes are bright. Maybe they think we have a chance. Naruto glances over at Sasuke, just in time to meet the Uchiha's gaze. He's fairly certain his own excitement is mirrored in the dark eyes. "We're doing better as a team," Sasuke says, and it's not even grudging. "A lot better," he asks after a moment, and there's a faint smile on his lips as he glances between the three of them. "Yeah!" Naruto agrees enthusiastically, grinning right back. He'd never have imagined a month ago that Sasuke Iteme could somehow turn into my friend Sasuke, who is, granted, still occasionally Iteme, but he wouldn't really be Sasuke if it wasn't. "Like the Sannin," Sakura murmurs, and then flushes when they glance at her questioningly. Hokage-sama had a team years ago, and people called them the Sannin because they were 3 of the best ninja to ever come out of Konoha. Tsunade-sama was their medic, Jiraiya-sama was their taijutsu specialist, and Orochimaru was their ninjutsu expert before he betrayed the village. They're still considered 3 of the most powerful shinobi in all the elemental countries. Silence falls as they concentrate on loosening up, but it's careful, thoughtful, and considering. They all avoid each other's eyes, nobody wanting to be the first to say anything in case what they're thinking is different. But Naruto's never been willing to let awkwardness stand in the way of anything, and after a long moment he looks up with an even wider grin. "I bet the Sannin passed the tuning exams on their first try," he says, and it's almost a dare. "Ninjutsu expert, huh?" "Probably," Sasuke agrees slowly, but he's already got that focused, determined look on his face that he gets when Kurama shows him a new and complicated kenjutsu move. "Taijutsu. That sounds right." It does. "And I'll be a front-line medic, just like Tsunade-sama," Sakura confirms. Her tone is iron and forged fire and tempered steel, and she stretches out a hand into the middle of their small circle. "We're going to be the next Sannin." It isn't a suggestion or a question, and Naruto finds himself reaching out before he consciously thinks about it, laying his hand over hers. "The dead last, the fangirl, and the Teme," he says with a grin. "We're gonna show them all. We'll be stronger than the Sannin. Orochimaru betrayed the village, right? But none of us will." Sasuke looks between them for a long, breathless moment, and Naruto can hear his own heart pounding away in his chest. This feels important. It's not just an oath between 3 children. It's 1,000 times more significant than that. It's 3 completely different people thrown together in one team with failure on one side and success on the other. And this feels like choosing in which direction their next step falls. Now they're just waiting for one thing. Slowly, Sasuke reaches out and lays his hand over Naruto's, over Sakura's. He meets each of their eyes in turn, intent and ferocious, and says, "As a team, we'll do it. We'll get stronger, become the strongest. We will." None of them see it, but back by the fire, sharpening his sword, Kurama smiles.